I've been meditating for 4 years straight, consistently for 4 years straight. And today we're talking about, is it even worth it to meditate for that long? And I wanted to take the grounded approach to this, not the spiritual woo-woo, not the fluff, not you're gonna levitate whilst meditating. You're gonna become a monk. Fuck that. We're gonna talk about the yeses and the nos, right? Why is it actually helpful and what does it not do? Why can it be for you and why is it not for you in terms of expectations of meditating for this long? A common misconception is that meditation is supposed to be stillness. You're supposed to be totally still, no thoughts, head empty, right? That isn't the case, not at all. You'll have mental chatter from here to the moon almost every day. But the core difference is that when you meditate regularly, you start to detach from those thoughts. So you'll just sit there and observe, like, okay, here's a thought, here's a thought, here's a thought. And instead of judging them as well, because that's something that is quite easy to do in the beginning, like you want stillness, so you start fighting it. But instead of doing that, just letting it be and just sitting and like seeing, like, okay, okay. Things that might come up are definitely unresolved conflicts, right? If something is bugging you throughout the day, then I can bet you that you will think of that in the meditation. So a lot of the things that you're avoiding or that are irritating to you will come up during the meditations. And that is the point. The point is to acknowledge those things. And the more you meditate, the more that space between me and my thoughts become, the bigger that space becomes, you know? So you'll notice that it's like you're taking a step back within the mind and you're almost looking down upon everything that is happening. Now, even after 4 years, I'll say that I'm still slipping regularly between identification and the observer, right? So it's not like this bing moment where you're the observer like all the time. Not at all. It's just you become aware of it. So it's easier for you to sort of take that approach, take that, go upwards, right? What I've also noticed is when I started meditating, I had a lot of intrusive thoughts. And the intrusive thoughts lose their power whilst meditating because you sit down, right? And your mind says, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. But then by just sitting and not acting upon every thought, you quickly realize that thoughts don't necessarily have any power over you. You have the power to act on what thoughts you want to act on, right? So the intrusive thoughts, the you talking yourself down will over time not diminish. It will diminish to some extent. It will not go away, but it'll lose its like grip over you. This grip, you know? I've also noticed that stress goes down through meditation. Like your nervous system finally has a time to relax for a bit, right? This is also why I started meditating, because I wanted space, right? I wanted calmness, not stillness, but calmness. I wanted peace. And the stresses throughout every day will just keep on if you are not intentionally slowing down. So setting aside a couple of minutes each day to just sit in silence has been tremendous for me. There's a reason I've done it for 4 years. In terms of creativity, there's also big reasons to meditate. I noticed that most of my paintings nowadays are collected through deep meditations, right? So you won't get more creative, not necessarily, but you'll get more in touch, more in tune with yourself. This is also where you tap into your intuition instead of your overthinking. So you're not just constantly chattering about every problem. You're just like connected to the tiny voice within, you know? Through meditation, art has a tendency to become channeling instead of a forceful act as well. Like everything becomes a tiny bit easier, you know? And like if you want to change parts of yourself, you have to be conscious of them in order to change them, right? So meditation teaches us where we are not lacking, but where we need to work on ourselves, right? If you're constantly doubting yourself during the meditation, that's just a pointer that, okay, that's something I have to work on. I'm obviously doubting myself a lot. It seems like that. If you're constantly bashing yourself down during the meditation like you fucking suck, this is not gonna work, then just sit through it. But observe that, okay, that's something that is underlying all of the mental chatter of my day-to-day life. Like, the more still you sit, the more these things will come to bother you. All of the things that you're running from, right? And it takes power to sit through them. And I've also noticed that before the ego and identity sort of fades, it does everything in its power to sort of cling by you, right? On to section 2. Sometimes meditation can be peaceful, but meditation isn't necessarily always peaceful either. Like you're gonna sit there and it's boring as fuck as well, right? You're sitting still for 30 to 40 minutes or up to an hour, right? You can sit for 5 minutes if you can't do 30 in the beginning, but it's fucking boring. So that's also good to teach yourself to just sit and be still, even though your mind wants to do everything at one point, right? Sit through that. This is boring, I want to do things, I have to do things, right? I have to do things. I have 10 things that I have to do. Why am I not doing this? Why am I wasting time meditating? All of that shit will be exposed, right? But you just have to sit through it. And honestly, in the beginning, or not necessarily in the beginning, for my sake, in the beginning it was magical, but I've also heard people talk it might get worse before it gets better, right? Because you're essentially exposing yourself. You're exposing who you are throughout meditation. And that can feel worse than running from it. Running from it in the beginning is essentially easier. On the long term, it sucks, but short term, it's easier to run, right? Than to face it. But in the long term, it's gonna be magical if you face it. And as I've said, the background chatter can get intense. And what I've noticed through deep meditations, right, is that the chatter can disguise itself as other voices as well, because you're essentially tapping into your dream state. You're the same thing if you daydream, right? Or if you're having actual dreams, you'll talk to other people in your dreams. Your mind has the ability to create fragments of reality that aren't necessarily attached to your perception of them, right? So I've noticed through meditation that I can hear my mom speaking, I can hear my sister speaking, I can hear people talking about football or so many things, right? And I'm like, where the fuck is this even coming from? What the fuck is this, right? What's this? I don't watch football. Why am I thinking about football? Why are all of these things coming? And the less attached I am to that way of thinking, the more obvious it will, or the higher the chance that the voices are disguised as something else, right? Not in a schizo thing, because they're not telling you to do things, but it's inherently normal to meet versions of yourself that don't feel like yourself through meditation. Like everything you see on a deeper level is constructed by your mind, right? So if you're able to perceive all of the external things, it speaks for itself that the second you close your eyes, you'll essentially become vivid within right? Everything that is used to project outwards is all of a sudden projected inwards. And every part of you will get shined a light on eventually. Just wanted to touch or like throw that out there that if you're tapping into what feels like other people's thoughts, it's not necessarily other people's thoughts. It's just you. But since you hear other voices, you're able to mimic those voices within the mind. Most people will also say like, I can't meditate, I can't be still, I can't sit still. That's essentially exactly why we're doing it, right? Because we can't. We need it. It's hard. It can be fucking peaceful as fuck, but it's not necessarily every day. And meditation in itself doesn't necessarily fix your life either. There's no like, oh, just sit and meditate and everything will fall into place. No, not at all. What happens, it's shining a light on what needs fixing, right? You have to fix it. After meditating, you have to take conscious action to actually fix your shit, right? Meditation won't do it for you. But it'll expose it, right? So it's easier to fix. There's also a huge difference between sitting down and just sort of daydreaming and actually meditating, right? I've noticed when I meditate in the early stages, not the early stages, but when I meditate, when I wake up, I'm essentially half asleep and half awake. So I'm not in the observer state, I'm just dreaming. I'm just sitting there, like my body's awake, but my mind is still dreaming. And that is, in some sense, meditation, but it isn't. You're not observing, you're fully identified with your dream state, right? You're just daydreaming. And that can be chill, but yeah, you get the point. And to summarize all of it, like the real answer, meditation won't give you results. It'll give you awareness to deal with your life. It'll shine a light on everything that needs to be shined a light on, right? It's not necessarily pleasant or aesthetic. It's not like it's not like it's portrayed, right? You just sit there and you're like in bliss. No, that can happen. I've had blissful moments during those 4 years where you just sit there and you laugh and you laugh and you laugh and you laugh because you're aligned, but not every day. And outro wise, is it even worth it meditating? If you seek comfort, no, not at all. It's discomfort rather than comfort. But if you're seeking truth or transformation within, or you want to stop being a hostage to your own mind, then yes, it is most definitely worth it. I'm so grateful that I've done it for 4 years now, and I'm most probably gonna continue for 4 years more. And that's about it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some value out of it. Peace.